All right. So everyone, I'm sure you are ready. Page number, please tell our friends they might be page number 26. Okay. Yes. Page number 26 of your book called Footprints Without Feet. Okay. Now tell me, as far as your school is concerned and your school syllabus is concerned, are we lagging back? Are we at par or we are ahead?
We are ahead.
Ahead of time? Are we traveling time in future? Yes. कौन बोल रहा है मास्क के पीछे? Oh yeah. That's a trick, you know. Now any one of you can rap, and I cannot come to know. And it's you. You are a student. It's your time. We have done this, so I'm gonna stop you. But you cannot do this while we are the process of teaching and learning. Before that, after that, you can do it. Okay? Chalo. So I want a good reader. इसकी आवाज ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स तक पहुंच सके आप, क्योंकि आप करीब, ठीक है? So please be clear. Know when to pause. Okay, you should know when to pause because I cannot keep on interrupting you when you are busy reading. You need to know when to stop. Okay, so yes, before we begin with this chapter, few things that I think I've already briefed you earlier what this chapter is all about. Okay, but here we have a freak called Mr. Griffin, and he is a scientist, and I think once in a life we want to get disappeared. And I think it's everyone's dream, right? But this guy actually figured out how to get disappear. Okay, we kept on dreaming and he actually did it. But what happened after that is what we'll come to know in this chapter. And I'm sure you all are excited, right, to learn it 9 to 9. Please start. See, wait, you keep pencil with you because there will be many things that I'll ask you to underline while the chapter is going on. Okay, so you will have to mark that in your textbook, but with strictly with pencil. Please start. What was the barefoot man doing on the steps of the house in the middle of them? And where was the man? Yes, so there were two boys who immediately or all of a sudden figured out that there are footsteps, but there is no person with feet. And those were the live footsteps which were taking place. And probably they couldn't figure out a person whose footprints were there. So, of course, they were surprised to know this because ideally this happens in the movies. But this was actually happening in real life, and that too without any kind of cinematography. So they were freaked out. Please continue. And while they were busy thinking about whose footmark was this, a sudden live footmark or fresh mud imprints were seen. So of course, they were quite entangled because now they're quite more excited to see what actually was happening or who was the man behind this or who was a person rather behind this fresh mud imprints. Continue. Now you see when you step out of the fresh mud and at the moment you progress with your feet, it gets lighter and lighter. And I'm sure हमारे जिंदगी में एक बार तो हमने कीचड़ में पैर रखा ही है, intentionally or unintentionally, okay? And we have immediately regretted. But then when so the moment you come out of the mud, the very next thing you do. How many of you have ever done? या फिर कोई पत्थर देखो. Have you done this or not? But this guy didn't do this. उसको ये पता नहीं चला कि मुझे ऐसा करना चाहिए, तो वो दो लड़के मेरे पीछे ना पड़े. So the moment he stepped out of the fresh mud prints, he was in the progress of making the fresh mud prints, but it started to get lighter and lighter. Okay, the boys kept on following him till the time entire footprint was invisible. Continue. Hmm. Yes, and then they couldn't know where to go because the mud paint prints were invisible now.
The explanation of the mystery was really simple. The bewildered boys
Bewildered.
had been following a scientist who had just discovered how to make the human body function.
All right, so this is not something that makes you feel complex, like, okay, or it is not that critical. The thing is very simple, that there is this man who recently discovered how to get invisible, or rather than I'm calling it as a man, calling it as a scientist would be more preferable. Okay, so he recently discovered on how to get invisible. So he was getting used to this kind of practice. But before he could get used to it, there were already these two boys bewildered, started following him. Continue. Yes, now we have people who give their life by just deriving one conclusion in the form of an experiment. And this guy kept on experimenting after experimenting in order to figure out how exactly to get 100% invisible. So he consumed a lot of drugs not in a way that you understand, but drugs in a way, medicines. He took, and then until the time he got disappeared, those medicines got succeeded. But in medical language, the medicines are also known as the drugs, but not those drugs that you have heard it in the Russian movies from the mafias. Okay, yes, continue. Yes, so underline this word, as transparent as a sheet of glass. Okay, so he consumed some rare drugs. Now, those kind of rare drugs which are exceptional in nature, which are not easily available. Okay, if it would have been easily available, every person would have been getting invisible and problems would have been getting triple in number. But he consumed some extremely rare drugs, which he knew that this will work in getting him invisible. Continue. Yes. So the fact was that he started to get as invisible as a thin sheet of glass, but still physical presence was there, but only invisible. होता है ना, invisible होता है लेकिन physically उनका existence feel होता है. Like say for there must be someone. Now imagine this stand is invisible, but it is still physically present. So I will feel that there is something here as a trouble. I may not be able to see this stand, but it will be physically be there. But transparent. I could literally see the set of books without any kind of hurdle in between. But physical presence will be there. Continue. Lawless person means not certified kind of scientist. When you do certain things, you are declared as invisible or not illegal. Okay, so after when you do some mischief in your school and you are expelled, you are either suspended. How many of you have got suspended in a school life? It's okay. None. Yeah, student. Anyone from online who got suspended for anything? So this guy called Griffin, he was a lawless person, and there were certain reasons why he was declared as a lawless person. Okay, there were certain reasons why he was declared as a lawless person. Few things you experiment illegally underground without the official permission of the government, and when government comes to know, they suspend their license. They suspend their license of conducting further experiments. But he was a lawless person. Continue. Can you read the sentence again? Freak for a reason. His landlord, asked him to vacate the place, and of course, he kicked him out, and he couldn't bear this insult. So in return, he entirely burned the house. जा, अब कोई नहीं रहेगा मेरे अलावा. ठीक है, कंटिन्यू. मैं नहीं तो कोई नहीं. चलो. अब उसको डर भी था कि अब पुलिस मुझे पकड़ने आएगी तो. So there was also this kind of pressure that he was handling. So now he had to compulsorily get invisible because now he had a fear of getting invisible. 90% data consumed. Just a minute, I'll shift to another network. Can you hear me guys now?
Yes,
sir.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I already consumed 90% of my data, so I have to switch to another network. But now we are fine, right? You can hear me and see me clearly, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead. Yes, but there was this condition. You see, in order to get completely invisible, he'll have to remove all his clothes. So now he was officially a wanderer. Officially, he didn't have any money. Now, if no one should catch him, he'll have to wander without wearing any clothes. But we are discussing about London, and it's a prime peak season of winter. Now imagine it's really very difficult to roam like this, getting invisible, just in order to serve the passion for getting invisible. Please continue. Yes. So this was, I think, a random act which used to keep on happening. So no one could actually catch him unless he steps into the liquid area or any kind of mud area and leaves the footprints. That's where the chances are that he might be caught. Continue.
He escaped easily enough from the boys to follow his footprints, but his adventures were by no means good.
Yes. यहाँ पे ये रुकने वाला नहीं था. अभी आगे और भी करतब दिखाने बाकी थे. Continue.
He had chosen a bad time of the year to wander about London without clothes.
Yes, it was his bad luck, it was his misfortune, or it was his bad time. Whatever you say. Continue.
It was midwinter. The air was cold, and he could not go without clothes.
Yeah, we're not talking about the beginning of winter. We're not talking about the end of winter. We're talking about the middle of the winter. That means the winter is high at peak. When the winter begins, it gradually begins. And it ends, it's gradually somewhere in middle. The winter is too high. You feel that even 3 banquets are also less. You want more and more, right? That season we are typically talking about here. Continue.
Instead of walking about the streets, he decided to slip into a big London store for that.
Yes, now this big London store is a kind of, mixed kind of store where the ranges of clothes of different brands are available. So of course the store has to be a bigger one. So what did he do? He acted smartly. He was waiting for the store to get closed. And immediately the moment they were about to close, he got inside the store somehow. और वैसे भी invisible था तो किसको कहाँ पड़ी? Continue.
Using that and as soon as the doors were shut, he was able to save himself the pleasure of clothes
Yes.
and dress himself without regret.
Now, see, he was there for around 7 to 8 hours till the time it was morning. He could ideally do anything and everything he wanted. Maybe in those days there were no CCTV cameras, right? So ideally, if you see, probably he was licensed to do anything and everything, because now the store was empty. It was a big London store, and the store was closed from the outside, and this guy was inside. So he could experiment all ranges of branded clothes. There was also a department where there was enough of meat, food, everything available, so he could fill his tummy without even paying for that. Continue.
And but and fitted himself out with warm clothes.
Yes. The priority was to fit himself with the warm clothes. Okay, continue.
Suit with shoes and overcoat and white
Yes. Now he was typically looking like Sherlock Holmes. If you reread this statement, the kind of dressing that he had, you feel like, oh, ये तो Sherlock Holmes जैसे दिखते हैं. लेकिन Mr. Watson का है. There is no Mr. Watson. Sherlock Holmes is always accompanied by Dr. Watson, right? Yes, continue. Remember, he was very much there physically, but he was like a thin sheet of glass. He was there physically present, but indirectly transparent. Okay, so now since he wore some warm clothes, he was physically also lookable, but you may not see his eyes. You may not actually see his hands because he must have wore the gloves. Okay, but ideally the neck portion must also not be visible. If you have seen, Mr. India or most of the
Yes,
invisible movies where a guy gets invisible. Remember the scene of Harry Potter where he wears a clock? The first part or the second part? Have you seen Harry Potter? No? हाँ क्यों नहीं देखा होगा तो भी हिंदी में देखा होगा ट्रस्ट. I believe you must watch because there is still something which no other book can give justice to the movie and J.K. Rowling after all. And she entirely wrote the series of Harry Potter in a train. The Hogwarts and everything happened while she was traveling in a train. Imagine. And when you see the movie, you could literally wonder how this all could just get into her mind, right? So anyway, so he was not typically a looking kind of personality. Continue, please.
In the kitchen of the restaurant, he found cool drink and coffee, and he followed up with my home. With sweet, sweet and wine taken from the grocery store.
Now everything. See, he was legally allowed, legally allowed to have everything and anything. Okay, because now the shop was closed. Besides, the cherry over a cake was that there was no CCTV camera back in those days. Yesterday I was reading an article on the goofs of famous Hollywood movies. Goofings, what are goofings? The mistakes that the famous Hollywood movies might have done while filming. So I came across the Titanic movie, and the goofing that was done was in that movie. This guy called Leonardo. His name was Jack. No, what was his name? You don't know. So he says that he and his father visited this particular sea. Now, ironically, in real life, back then when this incident happened, it was after 2 years that this lake was discovered. But in that movie, they have said that me and my father were fondly visiting this lake. So I was going through certain goofings. And when you are presenting your film at an international level, you have wide ranges of audiences, of multicultural audience you have, and when this kind of goofings are caught, it's literally a shame for the director, because when the copyrights or when the proofreads are done for the scripts, you need to certainly check the statistical data when you are especially describing the data. In Hobbit, in Hobbit or any other movie, there is this old guy. So it looks like the movie is entirely based in maybe 1000 years ago. But when he is speaking his dialogue, a wristwatch is seen. He is wearing a with very simple wristwatch, not the high profile, but ordinary. But back in those days, who had wristwatch? No one, right? It was not even discovered. They didn't ironically wear the time also in your wrist. So there are many goofings. So at an international level, if the mistakes can happen, it is but obvious that we at this level can make it. But we should learn from our mistakes. We are humans and we are bound to make mistakes. But if the same mistake keeps on happening, it becomes our habit. And if you make mistake once, if I tell you that you have to work on your tense, in your grammar, you have to work. But if you keep on making same mistake over and over again, it means either you are taking the instructions very lightly, or you want to make this mistake as an identity of yours, which shouldn't happen. Okay, please continue. Quilt, वो गद्दी होती है ना, उसकी पाइल लगाए हुए. So finally, he adjusted himself there after wearing warm clothes, after having enough of cold meat, coffee, sweets, everything. Now it is the time to sleep. Now it is the time to what? अब इतना खाने के बाद थोड़ी स्टोर में वॉकिंग किया जाता है. कौन सा डाइजेस्ट करना है हमको फूड, है ना? So now he was about to sleep on the pile of quilts. कुछ गद्दे रखे थे एक दूसरे के ऊपर. अब जनाब उसके ऊपर गिरने ही वाले थे. प्रॉब्लम कहाँ थी पता? सब कुछ अच्छा रहा, सोने तक अच्छा रहा, सिर्फ सुबह उठे लेट. And when he woke up late, the store was already open. People were already there. So now you know what you had to do, right? You had to again remove all your clothes, run for your life. Before anyone could catch you, you have to run and save your life. And that's what happened. He could enjoy those warm clothes only for that particular night. So now before he wanted to stop anyone from catching him, he will have to certainly remove his warm clothes. Please continue.
As it was, he did not wake up until the assistants were already arriving next door.
And imagine, if you have your shop, and the moment you open the shutter of your shop, and you could see someone, very nicely sleeping and warming himself up, what kind of, reaction would you give? And that's where Newton's third law will be implemented, Every action has equal and opposite reaction. You would feel like kicking him like anything, One for all for one, and settling down the account. But things were different here. Let us see what happens next.
When he saw a couple of men approaching, he panicked and began to. They actually gave chase. In the end, he
जैसे फिल्मों में होता है, ठीक है, गुंडा आगे, हीरो उसके पीछे. So here also Griffin was running and people were chasing him. People of the departmental store, London departmental store. Continue.
in the end, he was able to escape only by quickly taking off his new
That's what happened, right? I told you before, 5 minutes. That's the only option. There is no other option. Continue. था वहीं का वहीं आके रुक गया. Continue.
This kind of exciting surprise from our spirit company is not only but also something that would hide the empty space about his story.
Yes, so इस बार ऐसी शॉप में घुसा जहाँ पे he could literally find other kind of varieties of clothes where we could literally hide his neck, He could literally, hide his eyes, which were not visible. So he had to completely decorate himself in order to ensure that none of his invisible body parts are visible. I mean, invisible भी होता है तो दिख जाता है कि invisible है. You know that moment, right? Invisible है फिर भी दिख रहा है. Like how? So imagine कि, मेरा कोट यहाँ लगा रहा है और मेरा ग्लोव्स यहाँ तक. अब ग्लोव्स हवा में तो लटक नहीं सकते. So still this is invisible, but still it is feel it is visible. Because the way it is hanging, invisible is also visible. Yeah? फिर वो आपने तो देखा होगा famous original song of Prabhu Deva Kapila. Original song, where only coat, gloves, and the pant and the jacket is visible. Nothing else is, and the coat and the cat or hat, sorry. And then he makes a movement. So at that point of time, invisible is also visible. And continue, please. Hmm.
He made his face invisible of step and came out a little later wearing bandages round his forehead. Dark glasses, false nose, big pushing sides.
अब नोज भी तो लगाना पड़ेगा ना, कोई वो गॉगल स्टिक पाएंगे ऊपर. आपके चश्मे को सहारा किसका है? आपकी नाक का. समझोगे अगर नाक ही नहीं होती तो where would you hang your spectacles? It's literally a matter of worry. So this guy fixed up artificial nose so that he could fit the black goggles, so that his eyes जो already invisible है लेकिन लगना चाहिए कि आंखें है. ठीक है, continue. He had to look normal, see, in front of everyone. So what did he do? He had bandages all over his face. He fixed up artificial nose. He wore goggles. Continue.
And a large head. Without these things, gradually attacking the shopkeeper from behind.
या मतलब इस तरह से आर्टिफिशियल टकरा के लगना चाहिए कि एकदम नेचुरल टक्कर. In order to show that everything is happening very nice. अब सोचो ध्यान से निकल जाता तो कोड हो जाता ना. बट कंटिन्यू. Yes, there was a scene of a movie where Kader Khan and Shakti Kapoor are shown. In that movie, the name is Baap Nambari Beta, 10 Nambari. So Shakti Kapoor is too young. His father, it's a family business of stealing. So his father is teaching him how to steal. Usually fathers teach you how to work. So ironically, his father was also teaching him his profession, right? तो उसका पापा सिखाता है, बोले कि चल बेटा मैं तुझे सिखाता हूँ कि आज बटवा कैसे मारते हैं. तो वो सामने से आता है, कादर खान सामने से आते हैं और एक बैकग्राउंड में अच्छा खासा म्यूजिक बजता है. ठीक है, बिकॉज ये मूवी सेट है करीबन 90s में. अकॉर्डिंगली द म्यूजिक इज प्लेड. तो टकराता है और बटवा वैसे का वैसा रहता है. तो कादर खान बोलता है कि क्या है, रुक क्या चोर बनेगा तू, बटवा तो ये रहा देख. तो बेटा बोलता है पापा आपका ध्यान बटवे पे, मैंने आपकी घड़ी मार ली. So when he looks, into his wrist, he doesn't have his watch. You see how planned the beta was, and that's why the movie name was Baap Nambari and the Beta. That's a very beautiful piece of movie you must watch. The follow of events are very natural. पर क्या सीधे बोल दिया कि पापा आपका दान बटवे पे था, इसलिए मैंने आपकी घड़ी मार ली है. So he struck that guy in such a way as if it should look very natural, but in the process of striking with him, he robbed him with all his money. Continue.
To get away from the crowded London, he took a train to the village of Highway, where he took 2 rooms at the local inn.
Yes, so now of course, see, in his life he kept on escaping from one place to the another, and the reason was that he shouldn't be caught. So this time when he had enough money, he boarded a train and went to a village called Ivan, and there in one of the local inns. Inns means hotel. Hotels with stay, they are known as inns. Okay, so he booked 2 rooms in that particular inn. Continue.
The arrival of a stranger at an inn in winter was in any case an unusual.
Now this see, गांव होता है ना, अब देखो शहर में इतना पता नहीं चलता, एक फ्लोर पे भी कौन किसका घर पे कौन से मेहमान आया नहीं पता होता दूसरे वाले को, बट गांव में आप समझो. I'll tell you one of the best incidents, you know. My maternal home is in Vadnagar, you know Vadnagar, one of the historical place. So as a child, I frequently used to go to that particular village. Now that village is ages and ages old, you know. But you know, once one of my mama got married when I was young. So when we were coming from Ahmedabad, so we asked for the place, any random stranger, and I asked him. He provided me with the rest of the details. अच्छा इसके घर जाना है, अच्छा उनकी बेटी की शादी है, अच्छा ये घर है ना, अच्छा वो है, तो शादी यहाँ पे रखी है, खाना उधर रखा है. Any random stranger, you know, and that's the beauty of a village. In village, everyone knows everyone. You talk about any random stranger, yeah, he's Magan Bhai, I know. We go to plow field together. You talk about any coincidence, any landmark, you ask them, they'll be very helpful. Village people are always helpful because they know the art of survival. You know, they plow the field in the extreme scorching sunlight. Here, you know, we try to save our face with everything, you know, we rumal and everything. But they plow the field, they sow the seed under the extreme sunlight, you know, and they also train their kids for the same. So vacation, when you are busy having a Europe trip, their kids are busy plowing the field at the farm, and they know how to survive. And I'll tell you, you know, what kind of people are dangerous in this life? Those people who have survived, and they know how to survive. People, we are always afraid, what if we don't survive? We are afraid. But those people who have known the art of survival, they are the dangerous people. Because they know that whatever happens, they are going to survive anyway. And those kind of people are very dangerous. So here, when Griffin entered this village, and automatically or all of a sudden he booked 2 rooms in one inn, it was a talk of the town. Stranger coming from a city, completely stranger to this village, boarding 2 rooms in the hotel. So everyone in the village were conspicuous about this character. Continue.
A stranger of such uncommon appearance that all comes.
Uncommon मतलब उसका एक भी बॉडी पार्ट दिख नहीं रहा है, ऐसा अनकॉमन. ठीक है, तो ऑफकोर्स सब लोगों को डाउट तो जाएगा. आप भी देख लो, आप कभी जगह पे जाते हो तो आपके हाथ दिखते हैं, ठीक है, आपके पैर भी दिखते हैं, बिकॉज वी आर नॉर्मली विजिबल. ठीक है, he was artificially visible. That means trying to show what exactly he was not. And in the process of same, he looked very weird. He looked very strange. Continue.
Made every effort to be present.
हाँ, मतलब होता है ना, देखो कुछ नेबर्स ऐसे होते हैं ना, इनको बहुत सारी पंचायत होती है. They wanted to know everything about you, and there are few neighbors who are least bothered about it. You are terrorists. You are at home. I am at home. Do whatever. We have this kind of people, and the landlady here was fitting into the first category. She wanted to know everything about Mr. Griffin. You see, so trying to be a good landlady. You know, अरे क्या मांग रहे? दे बड़ा एडवांस है, बस आप भी दे. करार नहीं है जरूर. There is no need of agreement. We both mutually agree, na, it's okay. So, you know, trying to get more familiar with Mr. Griffin, but Mr. Griffin least interested in being friendly with this lady. Okay. That way, you see, no response. Continue. हाँ, तो जब पूछा गया कि यहाँ पे क्यों आए हो, तो उन्होंने बोला कि मुझे अकेला रहना पसंद. मुझे अकेलेपन से बेहद प्यार है. मैं यहाँ पे इसीलिए आया हूँ that so that no one should disturb me. I am seeking peace here. So I don't want anyone to disturb. Don't dare disturb me. See, Griffin, in the entire chapter, if you might have noticed by now, he's a very short-tempered guy. Earlier, a landlord tried to mess up with him. We know what happened. And here, you know, she's trying. We're familiar, but we are afraid that she shouldn't also mess up, you know. Because somewhere we are afraid that what Griffin is going to do, we know. But maybe this landlady doesn't know what he can do or what he has done. Continue.
Besides accident, I affected my faith.
हाँ, तो उसने ये भी कह दिया कि मेरा इस अपीयरेंस की वजह है कि मेरे साथ एक बहुत बड़ा हादसा हुआ जिससे मैं उभरने में थोड़ा टाइम लगा. इसलिए मैं यहाँ पे आया हूँ और मैं चाहता हूँ कि मुझे कोई भी डिस्टर्ब ना करे. कृपया करके दूर रहिए. कंटिन्यू.
Despite that, there's more than eccentric scientists.
मतलब बोलते हैं ना सिर पे रह जाते. See, you know, we are so bound by our academic qualifications. We are directly or indirectly respected when we are educated. But trust me, guys, those terrorists, you know, they are highly educated. You Google some of the renowned terrorists of the world and their educational qualifications. And I'm not joking. It's your wish, okay? You can or you may not, okay? It's your wish. And if you Google about some of the high-profile terrorists in the world wanted, not your nation wanted, but the world wanted, and you see their educational qualification, they are very highly qualified. We may say that, you know, prepare a bomb, to plan a mastermind, everything, you know, requires the deep knowledge, immense education, right? And planning in such a way, executing in such a way that you are not caught. See, the planning is still execution. The planning is not only from the beginning, but it is till the execution. And still no one knows who is the person behind this. Do you really think that an uneducated person can do this? No. So it matters what kind of approach you have for the people and their lives, and to what extent you want to see yourself from who you were yesterday, who you are today, who you will be in future. Okay, education's role is to have your own improvement from who you were yesterday and who you are today. If you are improved from yesterday, trust me, it's a progress. I used to be a very short-minded person, you know, I used to get angry a lot. But then, you know, I started to calm my mind, and trust me, it is very difficult. You know, to change yourself is really difficult. You know, Mahatma Gandhi has said that, you know, in order to see the change in the society, you be the change first. And everyone will start changing. And changing yourself for good reasons is really difficult, because that change is not sustainable in nature. Imagine, you know, that's what happens right on 31st December. We only have a resolution plan. We don't work upon it, right? As soon as it is 6th, 7th January, it's okay. Still the job is same. Still I work from 9 to 5. I have, you know, deadlines to approach. Where is Jim? Nowhere in the picture. So resolution plans work only on 31st December and 1st January. After that, you are same as you were on 30th December. Okay, so it's like that. Continuity is really important. Anyone can begin, but the difficulty is to continue. It can be anything, you know, when you decide something in your life that you really want to do, and you know, somewhere in the process of same, you find it very difficult to survive. But keep one thing in mind: The moment you decide to quit is a moment miracle happens. And think, if you ever wanted to quit, then why the hell did you begin? And you will be back on the track. If you'll know the reason why did you begin at first, you will continue. Mark my words. Try it practically. You will learn. You will understand it. Sustainability is really important. Anyone can begin. You can begin. I can begin. Anyone can. Okay. But to sustain it on a longer run, it is difficult. Okay. So work on sustainability. Don't work on achieving the goal. How so far you are consistent enough in working hard for your goal. Okay. But this Griffin, he was back to invisibility, and trust me, he achieved this feature in his life. His goal was to get invisible, and he really worked hard for that. You learn something out of Griffin, right? See, his purpose might be negative, not good for others, but you see, he was very sincere towards what he wanted to do and what he achieved. They both were same. Okay, so learn that quality of Griffin, not the purpose. The purpose is of course negative and we shouldn't learn that. But the contribution, the dedication is really important. That's the quality that this chapter teaches you. If not anything else, it definitely teaches you the art of consistency, the art of sustainability. Okay, please continue. Yes. और एक रीजन था कि उसके लैंडलेडी क्यों चुप रहेगी, क्योंकि उसने ऑलरेडी एडवांस में रेंट पे कर दिया था। तो ये वजह भी नहीं थी लैंडलेडी के पास कि वो उसका भाड़ा वसूल करते हैं आए हर महीने के एंड पे। ओके, कंटिन्यू। हाँ, चोरी किया हुआ पैसा ज्यादा देर तक टिकता नहीं, और ऊपर से भाई ने तो एडवांस में रेंट पे कर दिया, तो उसमें भी एक्स्ट्रा पैसा it went. So this money couldn't survive for a longer period of time. Continue. Yes, so when you are running out of cash, you have to accept that now you don't have money anymore, and that's what exactly happened with Mr. Griffin. Continue. Yes, now of course जब भाड़ा देने की बारी आई दूसरा, so he said that, see, I'm expecting a check to come. The moment I receive it and the moment the check is clear, I'm definitely going to pay you. Right? Continue. Yes, लेकिन तब वो उसके पहले ही there was this one curious episode which took place. Let us see what happened. Continue.
Very eagerly, in the morning, a clergyman and his wife were awakened by the voices in the steps.
Can you reread this sentence?
Shortly afterwards, a curious episode happened. Very eagerly, in the morning, a clergyman and his wife were awakened by the voices in the study.
Now you know who is the man behind it. All right, so it so happened that a clergyman, padri, जो चर्च के पादरी होते हैं उसे clergyman कहते हैं, उसे father भी कहते हैं. So it so happened that a clergyman and his wife were woken up because of a sudden noise which took place in their house. Continue.
Sitting downstairs, there was share of money being taken from the clergyman's desk.
Yes, तो जब नीचे उतर के आए तो आवाज आ रही थी कि पैसे निकल रहे डेस्क के पास से, ठीक है, and they could literally hear that moment of the morning where everything is silent, and besides this clergyman and his wife were woken up quite early than the usual time of waking up. Continue.
Without missing a noise, and with a open desk for him in his hand, the clergyman opened the door.
फटाफट से उसने दरवाजा खोल दिया. देखो, ग्रिफिन था लेकिन नहीं था. Griffin was there, but he was not there. He was there physically, but he was not visible. And you have seen that monster movie. That monster can only hear your footsteps, and it can catch you on the grounds of that. He doesn't have the sight to see, and he catches you on the grounds of the noise you make. So now imagine if the monster passes from here. You decide to remain silent, right? You decide to remain silent. If you make noise, but he only can hear, then attack you. But if you are still, he passes from here, he will not do anything to you. But if this falls down, it makes noise. So that's the thing about Mr. Griffin also. He stood still without making any movement. Please go ahead.
Then to his amazement, he realized that the room appeared to be empty. He and his wife looked under the desk and behind the curtain and even some pictures. There wasn't a sign of anything. Yet his desk had been open.
Yes, ऐसा लग रहा था कि कोई घर में है लेकिन दिख नहीं रहा था, because the kind of sign and symbols they saw in the house with many of these movements, it looked like there was someone, either he was hiding or maybe something is wrong. They couldn't figure out anything out of this. Continue.
And his housekeeping lens was missing.
Yes, besides, no money was found. It was found missing. Continue.
Extraordinary clergymen kept saying for the rest of
Once you are done with this paragraph, you can stop it. Okay, done. Can you reread the last sentence?
extraordinary event, the clergyman kept saying for the rest of the day.
Yes, पूरे दिन यही कहता रहा कि अद्भुत, अदम्य. क्या हुआ पता ही नहीं चला. क्या? अविश्वसनीय. There used to be a Shaktiman, you know. How many of you have seen Shaktiman? So the title song was अद्भुत अदम्य साहस की परिभाषा है. ये अवतार नहीं है, ये इंसान. So this clergyman the entire day kept on saying कि यार कुछ हाथ लगा नहीं, मनी चले गए, क्या हुआ कुछ पता चला नहीं. And we'll stop here because we are done for the day. I hope whatever we have done so far you have understood it and you don't have any doubts. What you can do is still revise whatever we have done so far. If you have any doubts, you can ask me next time. Okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
अविश्वसनीय. Smaraniya. My Gujarati is so weak. All right, so that's it, online students. I believe you don't have any doubts. If you find out any doubts, next time we are very much ahead. You can ask me, okay? Till then,
Okay,
see
sir.
you. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye, sir.